The drama surrounding Shedeur Sanders has taken yet another turn. And this time it isn't about passing yards, touchdowns, or highlight reel throws. This story is about power. It's about leverage. It's about a young quarterback who decided that his influence wouldn't be confined to the field, who stepped beyond the usual playbook and turned a simple football gesture into something that felt more like a cultural revolution. While most young stars chase endorsement deals, chase millions, and chase the kind of clout that comes from slick commercials and perfectly staged social media posts, Shedeur Sanders did something radically different. He reached down into the heart of Cleveland, into the neighborhoods and the classrooms where kids live on hope and ramen noodles, and he changed the game before ever throwing a single pass for the franchise. He gave away free tickets. It sounds simple, almost small, but in the way he did it, in the timing, in the psychology, in the defiance, it became a move so seismic that the NFL itself felt the tremors. Think about it. In the world of pro sports, giving back to the community is usually a carefully managed spectacle. A few appearances at charity banquets, a couple of staged photo ops, maybe a donation wired to an organization that makes for good press. It looks nice on Instagram. It fills a segment on the evening news. And it convinces fans that the millionaire in pads is also a man of the people. But that's not real. That's image management. And Shedeur Sanders, the son of primetime himself, grew up watching the way the game works. He knew the difference between fake and authentic, between scripted charity and genuine impact. So when he touched down in Cleveland, he didn't call his PR team. He didn't alert his coaches. He didn't give the NFL executives any time to prepare their spin. He acted quietly, decisively, and with a conviction that came from something far deeper than publicity. As he put it in his own words, "God told me to come out here." When a Sanders says something like that, it's not about headlines. It's about purpose. Shedeur could have done what every other star athlete does. Write a check, post a story, move on. It wasn't about transactions. It was about presence. About flesh and blood. About being seen and touched and known by the very people who cheer from the cheap seats. That's what made the suits nervous. That's what made the NFL brass shift uneasily in their leather chairs. Because when a young quarterback starts bypassing the official channels, when he starts building power directly from the streets that isn't just charity, that's revolution. It began with tickets. Not just a handful, not just a token gesture for a few lucky fans. Shedeur went Ellen. He flooded entire sections with free access for students who otherwise wouldn't even dream of walking into an NFL stadium. These weren't kids with rich parents, seasoned inside the gates. They weren't outsiders anymore. They were chosen. He was playing for them. The effect was immediate and electric. On game day, when the stadium lights blazed and the teams ran out, the noise wasn't just noise. It was an army. Thousands of students, faces painted, lungs. In that moment, Shedeur didn't just have fans. He had soldiers. And for the Rams or any opponent walking into that cauldron, it wasn't just a game anymore. It was psychological warfare. A wall of sound that money couldn't buy and PR couldn't make. That's the genius of Shedeur Sanders. He understood something most quarterbacks never do. Loyalty isn't inherited. It's created. And he was creating it in real time. With every free ticket, with every handshake. With every moment he showed up where nobody expected him. Because yes, he walked the streets. He went into community centers with no camera crews, no lighting setups, no PR handlers feeding him talking points. Just him and the kids. Just Shedeur shaking hands, making eye contact, and letting them know he was real. In an era when athletes outsourced their charity work to foundations and accountants, Shedur's presence hit like a thunderclap. This wasn't about appearances. This was about authenticity, and the community felt it instantly. Of course, the establishment didn't like it. The NFL doesn't like players who go off script. They especially don't like it when those players are young, black, and already sitting on wealth that rivals veterans. Because let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders wasn't desperate for NFL money. By the time he set foot in the league, he was already worth north of $30 million. $17 million from car deals, another $14 from shoe contracts, plus a mountain of nil money that made him richer than players who'd been grinding in the league for years. That kind of leverage terrifies executives. It strips away their control. It flips the balance of power. And when you add the fact that his father, Deion Sanders, had already blazed a trail of player empowerment that gave owners nightmares, you begin to see why the league was nervous. Prime time broke barriers. He got guaranteed deals before they were the norm. He played 2 sports and forced the system to bend. He showed players they didn't have to play submissive. Now here comes his son, armed with the same DNA, but updated for a new era. A digital era. It's a nil era. A generation that values authenticity over optics. A quarterback with elite numbers, elite leadership, elite brand power, somehow slid past team after brands. Didn't like that Shedeur was untouchable financially. That he didn't need their contracts to define him. That he refused to play the submission games that rookies are supposed to play. So they orchestrated his fall. Teams that needed quarterbacks suddenly passed. Scouts who had raved about him suddenly developed concerns. It was draft manipulation at its most blatant, and everyone knew it. But here's where the story takes its twist. You can't humble a Sanders. You can't bury DNA that's been sharpened by generations of defiance. Instead of breaking him, the draft only armed him. It gave him receipts. It gave him motivation. It turned every team that passed on him into fuel for his revenge tour. Cleveland didn't just get a quarterback. They got a man with nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. That first preseason game, that wasn't just a performance. That was a warning shot. A signal flare to the rest of the league that they hadn't crushed him. They had awakened him. And now, what began with free tickets is spreading like wildfire. Other athletes are watching. College kids are taking notes. Pros are whispering. They see that the blueprint isn't about stacking endorsement deals or chasing social media clout. The blueprint is about connection. About investing in people before asking them to invest in you. Those students who walked through the gates on Shedeur's dime, they're not just fans anymore. They're evangelists. They're disciples. They're carrying his name, his number, his story like it's sacred text. They're defending him online, they're telling their friends, and one day, they'll tell their children. They'll say, "I was there when Shedeur changed the game." That isn't fandom. That's tradition. That's legacy being built in real time. The NFL thought they had power because they controlled his draft position. Shedeur proved that real power doesn't come from draft slots or rookie contracts. It comes from the people who choose you. And in Cleveland, the people have chosen. They chose him as more than a quarterback. They chose him as a leader, as a symbol, as proof that the system doesn't always win. The revolution isn't coming. It's already here, and it's wearing number 12. It's handing out tickets like declarations of independence. And no amount of boardroom scheming can stop what's growing. Because here's the truth. Years from now, nobody will remember his preseason stat lines. Nobody will care that he was drafted in the 5th round. But those kids, those thousands of students who felt chosen, who felt seen, they'll remember forever. They'll remember the quarterback who looked them in the eye and said, "You matter." They'll carry that with them like a badge. And that memory, that connection, will be worth more than any endorsement deal, any PR campaign, any slick commercial. That is ownership. That is legacy. That is power. So while the NFL tried to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders, he turned the tables and made an example out of them. He showed every young player rising through the ranks that you don't need validation from executives when you have validation from the people. You don't need their approval when you have an entire city ready to go to war for you. They wanted to humble him. Instead, they created their worst nightmare, a quarterback who answers to nobody but his community. A player who refuses to be a product, who chooses to be a prophet. And in doing so, he may have redefined what athlete influence looks like for an entire generation. This is bigger than football now. Bigger than wins and losses. This is about connection. About empowerment. About legacy. Shedeur Sanders didn't just hand out tickets. He handed out ownership stakes in his movement. He planted seeds in Cleveland that will grow for decades, and the NFL is not ready for the harvest. Prime time once reshaped the game with swagger and showmanship. But Shedeur, he's reshaping it with something even more powerful: authentic connection. And that may eclipse everything that came before. The league tried to humble him. Instead, they unleashed him. And now the system is trembling. So what about you? Do you believe Shedeur Sanders just changed the blueprint for athlete power forever? Was this more than a ticket giveaway? Was it the birth of a movement that could redefine the NFL? And should Cleveland fans already see him as the future face of their franchise? Or does he still have something left to prove on the field before earning that crown? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding revolution.